Look at this description and see how it sharply contrasts with the rich man's. However, it also implies a relationship between the two, as patron to a client. Notice in this picture, one is shown inside and the other outside. The gate or opening allows one to enter the other person's world if one cares to do so, thus showing compassion and offering comfort, or displaying apathy. This parable attacks the complacency that surrounds the divisions separating the rich from the poor, the socially acceptable from the outcast. Was the rich man guilty of gluttony and deceit? You better believe it. But you know what he was really guilty of? What his biggest sin was? It was selfishness. His failure to enter into solidarity with one in need, to show compassion. He failed to love his neighbor as himself. Let's look at the word solidarity. How many of you remember the solidarity movement that erupted in Poland in the 1980s? A group of dock workers united to break Soviet influence by using civil disobedience and resistance. Now, in March 2022, that same feeling of solidarity is being displayed for Ukrainians and has become a global symbol of support as they fight and struggle against Russian oppression. Now, has this happened before, historically speaking? But you know, it wasn't with such a united response. Think back when Hitler invaded the Sudetenland, which was part of Czechoslovakia, in 1938. Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain proclaimed that he had achieved peace in our time. Well, at least until September 1939, when Hitler invaded Poland, which then brought about World War II. Or when the Soviet tanks entered Prague after the Czechoslovakian spring of 1968, when attempts were made to loosen communist control. In both cases, a sovereign nation's future was determined by others. Now the Ukrainians are fighting to control their own destiny, and the free world is supporting their efforts and standing in solidarity for their cause. Now, the classic movie Casablanca expresses in contemporary terms the Rich Man and Lazarus parable theme of solidarity. Rick, played by Humphrey Bogart, has a romance with Ilsa, played by Ingrid Bergman. Just before the Germans invade Paris, they agree to leave together on the last train. Now watch this heartbreaking clip.
Where is she? Have you seen her?
No, Mr. Richard, I can't find her. She checked out of the hotel, but this note came just after you left. That's the last call, Mr. Richard. Do you hear me? Come on, Mr. Richard, let's get out of here. Come on, Mr. Richard, come on.
When she doesn't show up, he's despondent. He goes to Morocco, where he runs a cafe in Casablanca. Rick is completely undone, flabbergasted, heartbroken, and angry when Ilsa shows up one night at the cafe. After much misunderstanding, she explains what happens. When they originally met, she thought she was a widow. When she unexpectedly found her husband the day she was supposed to leave with Rick, she knew it was her duty to stay and support her husband as the new French resistance leader. The night Rick bumped into Ilsa, she and her husband were sneaking their way back into France. The captain of the Vichy police, played by Claude Rains, was watching them. And Major Strasser, played by Conrad Veidt of the Gestapo, also had his eyes on them. Rick had a dilemma. He and Ilsa were still madly in love. He had 2 passports. They could be used for him and Ilsa, or for Ilsa and her husband. She tells Rick, "You must decide for the both of us." Watch now and see what he chooses to do.
Louis, have your man go with Mr. Laszlo and take care of his luggage.
Certainly, Rick. Anything you say. Find Mr. Laszlo's luggage and put it on the plane.
Yes, sir. This way, please.
If you don't mind, you fill in the names. That'll make it even more official.
You think of everything, don't you?
And the names are Mr. and Mrs. Victor Laszlo.
But why my name, Richard?
Because you're getting on that plane.
I don't understand. What about you?
I'm staying here with him till the plane gets safely away.
No, Richard, no. What has happened to you? Last night
Last night we said a great many things. You said I was to do the thinking for both of us. Well, I've done a lot of it since then. It all adds up to one thing. You're getting on that plane with Victor where you belong.
But, Richard, no,
Now, you've got to listen to me. You have any idea what you'd have to look forward to if you stayed here? 9 chances out of 10, we'd both wind up at a concentration camp. Isn't that true, Louis?
I'm afraid Major Strasser would insist.
You're saying this only to make me go.
I'm saying it because it's true. Inside of us, we both know you belong with Victor. You're part of his work, the thing that keeps him going. If that plane leaves the ground and you're not with him, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life.
But what about us?
We'll always have Paris. We didn't have, we lost it until you came to Casablanca. We got it back last night.
When I said I would never leave you.
And you never will. But I've got a job to do, too. Where I'm going, you can't follow. What I've got to do, you can't be any part of. Ilsa, I'm no good at being noble, but it doesn't take much to see that the problems of 3 little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. Someday you'll understand that. Now. He's looking at you, kid.
In making this choice, Rick does what the rich man failed to do. He passed through the gate of his own private little world with the alluring promise of personal happiness into solidarity with the whole human family. He put the world's desperate situation above his personal happiness. He saw that Ilsa's husband was contributing to the destruction of Hitler's tyranny and needed the support of his wife to fulfill his heroic role. Actually, this is what God the Father did when he sent his only begotten Son into the world to be crucified for our salvation. It is this insight into the heart of God and its manifestation in human affairs that makes this film so extraordinary. In the next episode, you all will see a reboot of the Rich Man and Lazarus parable. I call it The Wealthy Diva and Sophia, but I'll be using contemporary images to make the story more relevant to today's audience. But before we leave, let's recap the highlights of this lesson. Look at the summary and fill in the blanks. Put in the missing words in the comment section. Until next time, please subscribe, like, comment, and share this video. And remember, may the peace of the Lord be always with you. And here's looking at you, kid.
And when two lovers woo, they still say I love you. On that you can rely.